Welcome to Zen and the Art of Homeschooling. I'm Ollie Malley.
And I'm Michael Malley.
This is our third episode today.
There you go.
Yeah. And today we're going to talk about don't worry about it and you can do hard.
Yep. And breathe.
And breathe, yes,
Yeah.
and breathe. But first, we want to talk a little bit of a recap of what we talked about so far in the first three episodes, what we're trying to communicate. One is ease into this. Yeah, you don't have to start at full throttle with it. You
Right.
can ease into it.
Yeah, we said we would recommend that at any time for people who were interested in homeschooling. Those of you being forced into homeschooling or coming at it at this time of the coronavirus, please ease into it. Give yourself some space. Give your kiddos some space.
Right, yeah. And the other thing is that homeschool at any point doesn't look just like school for most people. No. It really doesn't. One of the things we said yesterday is it takes a lot less time. People spend a lot less time homeschooling than you would if your kid went to school. And I don't think we talked about time, but a little bit. But an average amount, if you were just thinking about homeschooling during normal times, would be about an hour or two with formal homeschooling for like kindergarten, early elementary, up to 4 or 5 hours for a high schooler that you're homeschooling. And again, there's a ton of variability with that. Right. And I mean, some people do like unschooling where they do very, very little formal homeschooling. And some people do like a
classical education where they're spending probably more time, right? So yeah, there's first of all, there's no one way of doing this. That's at least part of the message we're communicating here. And yeah, we'll be talking almost every time in how this is going to be different than a classroom. Your aspiration or our aspiration for you is don't try to mimic exactly what a school is doing, but be thinking of yourself more in the role of educator and inviting them to be learners in all sorts of ways.
All sorts of ways. Yeah. We also talked about routine and the importance of setting up a routine. But to give some normalcy, is that the word?
Yeah.
Normalcy,
normalcy.
To your kid's day. And you can always tweak those routines. You know, you set something up and you can see what works and you can tweak them.
Right. And we also, along with that, the other part of it is that we're all under stress. Your children are under stress. To not be, not overdo it with that. But yeah, try to start to put some structure into their lives, into your life around education, but don't push it too hard. We really have to take care of each other in this time. Yeah.
Right, and you're doing that to hopefully reduce stress.
Right, exactly.
That's the point of that. We talked about quiet time, that totally revolutionized our lives, instilling quiet time.
Yeah, watch episode 2 for that.
Right. And of course, we do this one day at a time. And we believe home is school and life is school. And, lots of what you're doing, whether your kids go to school or not, or they go back to school, what you're doing at home already is school.
Yeah. And was back before this whole coronavirus started. That idea of you're the educators and that we're teaching our children in a million different ways, right? Sometimes we're teaching them what not to do, right? None of us are perfect here. But yeah, that'll all be unfolding in the days ahead.
Right. So today we're going to talk about, to start out with, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Right. And part of what we're saying is not worry about it, is not to worry so much about how much of that formal schooling your kids are getting right now.
Right.
Whether this is for 2 weeks or 2 months that we're here.
Or longer, yeah.
Right. The priority of school has gone down somewhat for all of us. That there's a different kind of learning that we're doing right now.
Right.
And part of that learning is that we can do hard, which is a concept we got from Bo Lozoff from his book, It's a Meaningful Life, It Just Takes Practice. We read this book back in 2000 in a book group, and it's made a lot of impact on us. But one of the concepts is you can do hard,
right,
and your kids can do hard. That human beings were built to have some hard times, and that you can do it. I just put a quote of his up on our Facebook page about that. That you come from generations of people that have done hard. I mean, that every one of us, if we're here, right?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I'm a storyteller. That's one of the things I do, and I tell family stories. And the stories I've heard of my two grandmas, for example, where um, one loses her husband during the Great Depression. She's raising 7 kids on her own, barely speaks English. The other one loses her second husband in the Depression and is again raising kids. No matter who you are, you know, whether your folks came like my Irish ancestors traveling steerage in the bottom of the boat, or if you're African American and they came over on the slave ships, or however we got here, native peoples who survived despite everything that happened to your people here, no matter who we are descendants of people who have been through a lot. And I think that part of what what is happening in this moment is we're having to call that up within ourselves, and it's going to be called up within our children as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And doing hard is hard. We can look back on it, and you tell these stories, and we weren't there to experience their hard, but we're experiencing our hard now, and our kids are experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the activities they were going to do, the things they thought were important. I mean, kids that were graduating and were going to do prom, and that's no longer.
Mm-hmm. Sports this
spring.
Yeah.
I mean, just so much. I mean, they might cancel the Olympics. That is really, really hard.
Yeah.
But also, they're learning something really important through this, and this isolation is self-sacrifice, which is so hard but so important. Mm-hmm. So whatever happens during these next 2 months, how much school happens, they are going to have that in them, that they themselves had to practice self-sacrifice. That they are, most of you probably, this virus won't affect your children or yourself. Some of you, it will, yes, but it's going to affect other people around you. Sure. And the reason that you're staying at home and you're doing this is to support those people, to help those people that you don't even know, that your kids don't know. Yeah. And what an important lesson, what a hard lesson, but what an important lesson too.
Yeah, and the other thing is that there's so much learning that's going on for all of us. I mean, there's so much tension, right? But wherever there's tension, there's learning, right? Remember when you were in school that, oh my gosh, this class, it's really pushing me. Well, the class of life is pushing all of us right now. So even if they do a little less math or a little less of this or that, your kiddos are learning a lot right now. And the other thing is, yes, you can do hard, but it's not all about being these super serious people all the time. We need to bring also playfulness and humor, even though we're talking about doing hard. So one of the things is I've been joking with our kiddos, a 13-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 19-year-old, and I'm telling them, like, when you guys are like 80 or 90 years old and you hear some kids complaining about something, you're going to say to them? You're going to say, oh, quit your complaining. I lived through the coronavirus. So there, that's, I heard those Depression era folks, right? I mean, so there is this element to that, and we need that. We need that long view, right? And we need that playfulness. One Buddhist teacher once said, humor is what creates space where there is none. Not the cutting, hurtful humor, but the playful, joyful humor. And so we have to come back again and again. That's another great, great gift that we can, when it's appropriate and when we're able, that we can give to our kiddos.
Might have some bad dad jokes.
Ooh, yikes. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're looking for some bad puns, I'm your guy, yeah.
Yeah. And the other part of don't worry about it is that your kids are going to be have the opportunity to learn all sorts of things during this time. Things that you probably didn't have time for. I know we had a kid that went all the way through K through 12 education, and she was busy with school and with activities, and that was wonderful. But right now you have a little more time to do some of those things maybe you wouldn't have had time for them to learn cooking skills or sewing skills, or learn how to fix something by looking at YouTube videos, or drawing with YouTube videos, or really diving into music, reading lots of books. So there's that opportunity to have the time that they wouldn't have had, and so those things can happen. A lot of those things are really important. Cooking is something you do every day. Or a lot of us do every day.
Yeah, and we I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No.
Bo Lozoff, who spoke of You Can Do Hard, he says, think of the difference between when you take that difficult hike up the mountain and then you get to the summit and you have the view, versus when you hop in the car, drive on up, park the car, and get out and look. It's not the same view. So doing the hard work and the kind of the deep joys that can be connected with that, they're tremendous. So that's, again, it's going to be such a mixed bag of mourning and loss and new opportunities. I mean, that's what we're in. That's really what we're in.
Yeah, so we're going to end today with a mindfulness practice, one basic mindfulness practice that we're going to ask you guys to do with us if you want to, because it's something that your whole family can do, that you can do, and that's just breathing. So if you learned anything about Buddhism, they do a lot of breathing.
Yeah. Focus. Well, you do breathing too. You've been doing it, but but mindful breathing, right? Being aware and being present in this moment. And again, with all the tensions within our families, within ourselves, whether we're doing this together as a group or whether we're withdrawing and kind of like on our own doing this, these are ways of doing some healing and care for self. And also, we can be adding these to the skill sets of our children. Yeah.
So first, we're just going to take one breath. So if you take a deep breath in, you hold it, and then you slowly let it out. And I just want you to think about what you felt in your body at that time. We're going to do it again, so you have another opportunity to feel it. But what I feel in my body when I do this is I feel tension being released. I feel it going from my head down to my toes. I imagine it going out and into the earth. I imagine the tension coming through me and going through the earth. And the earth taking my tension. This is something we learned at a Buddhist retreat. The earth taking our tension and composting it. The earth composts all sorts of our garbage and turns it into flowers and vegetables. And so what I imagine is the earth taking my tension. It's going to turn it into something positive. Okay? And so we're going to do this 3 times. We invite you to do it with us. And you'll feel what you feel. Sometimes I feel like I'm in a shower or something too, like the water is going down me and the tension is going out of me.
Yeah, I was even thinking we're made of water, right? And so you think of kind of letting gravity do its work. And this is mindfulness. This is an invitation to presence. Whatever your spiritual religious tradition, or whether you have a spiritual religious tradition or not, these are practices of mindfulness, of presence that anyone can do. They're not something that's exclusively Buddhist or something like that. So,
right. That's certain. And that and thinking about breath as life, that we all breathe, and that as life and as sacred. So we're going to do it 3 times. We'll see what we feel. You guys will see what you feel. So I invite you to breathe in deeply, to hold it for a few seconds, and then slowly just let it out. Imagine tension being released in you. Breathe in deeply. Hold it for a second. And breathe out. Breathe in deeply. Hold it. And breathe out, releasing. that helps me.
Yeah.
I hope it helps you too. I hope it can help your kids. And just like, how do you feel how do you feel after that? And we'll talk about it more at other times, but it's been important to me. And sometimes, breathing three times usually, at least right now, I'm kind of relaxed and it helps. Sometimes you need to breathe more than 3 times.
Sure.
Breathe,
Sure.
do it till you can feel calm. Something you can teach your kids at some point. Our daughter, our eldest daughter, our eldest daughter, does it with her 6-year-old. Lila,
Nice.
they ask Lila to breathe. She's a passionate, beautiful young person, and it's when she's getting really upset, I've seen her mom and her dad both. Okay, Lila, let's take a few breaths. Just breathe it out. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
See you tomorrow.